He didn't say her name first. He said her secret. And in that breath between a truth and a consequence, the city went quiet, the elevator lights flickered, and loyalty ripped like silk between two hands that didn't know whether to hold on or let go. The building always smelled like ambition at night. Ozone from the storm rolling over the river, hot metal from the elevator cab, printer toner that clung to the air like a confession waiting to happen. Ava Lynn liked the emptiness of after hours. She could hear her own thoughts and stack them into something useful, something that wouldn't tremble at the sight of a signature on a contract or a glance in a hallway. She had rules for that. Eyes on the brief, heart in a locked drawer, code of conduct engraved on her spine like a spine is anything but a set of choices made in the dark. Then he got into the elevator. He didn't look like a rumor. He looked like the reason rumors start. Sharp suit, undone tie, a watch that didn't tick so much as measure the speed of a room falling silent. He hit the button for 29 and then the lights stuttered, the cab lurched, and Ava's laptop nearly slid from her hands. She felt his hand steady her, and that was the first mistake of the night because touch is a door and doors are made to be opened. "You're Ava Lynn," he said, like a fact he could use later. Strategy. Or fire containment, depending on who's asking. The mouth tilted into something that could have been a smile if smiles could keep secrets. I know, she said too quickly. Julian Hart, interim CEO. The kind of interim that changes everything permanent. You're late for an 8 a.m. board call tomorrow, or early for it, depending on your definition of sleep. She heard herself trying for distance, professional level, but something inside her had already zipped to the surface, alive with static. I couldn't sleep, he said. The numbers don't sleep. His eyes were complicated, like he'd just inherited a kingdom with locked rooms no one had keys to anymore. Then the elevator sighed, stopped between floors, and the LED blinked in a color that felt personal. A thin hum filled the cab. The storm pressed its hands against the windows beyond the shaft. They were suspended in a pocket of time and metal. Ava tried the emergency phone and got a calm voice that promised 10 minutes, then 20, then the kind of 40 that makes a body notice breath and space, and the sound of someone else swallowing whatever it is they don't say out loud. "May I?" he asked, nodding at her laptop. She hesitated, then opened the presentation for the new campaign. Cities remade, neighborhoods reimagined, glass and green and money that looks like hope until it doesn't. He didn't touch the trackpad. He watched her hands instead, the way she slid through slides, the way she inhaled before the budget page like she was about to admit to something that wasn't a line item. "You've buried the best part," he said softly. "The story isn't the building. It's the people who swear the sunlight is different on good days, even 5 floors up." His voice made it sound like a secret, and secrets have a shape that fits the mouth perfectly. Ava felt a small, traitorous flare of pride. She also felt heat rise like a blush no professionalism could conceal. "It won't test well," she said. "Numbers like certainty, hearts like danger. Our brand isn't brave enough to admit it." She didn't mean to look at his mouth when she said brave, but the cab was small and words do strange things when there isn't room to run. He stepped an inch closer, not enough to accuse. Enough to confess. "What if we make it brave?" he asked. And there it was, the second mistake, the invitation in a sentence that wasn't about architecture at all. The radio crackled. "Hold tight, 27 to 29 is sticky." On it, Ava exhaled. He exhaled. The hum shifted. She realized her heart had learned a new rhythm in the last 5 minutes and didn't know how to forget it. "You have someone who believes in you," Julian said, eyes on the vision slide, voice that knew too much. She froze. Her brother, Eli, 2 months into recovery, 3 months behind on rent, 4 promises deep into the kind of trouble that comes with interest. She didn't talk about Eli at work. She didn't talk about work at home. "Your last budget note reallocated discretionary funds to community guardians. I looked up the vendor. It's a mutual aid group." He wasn't accusing. He was noticing. "That can be worse," Ava swallowed. "We support our neighborhoods." Her voice didn't crack. Choices rarely do until after. "And our brand is braver than it knows." She wasn't sure who she was defending, herself, the slide, or the thin red string of what she wouldn't let snap. The car jerked, the lights steadied. 29 lit. He looked at her like she had moved a piece on a board he didn't know she was playing. "I want to see what you saw when you made this," he said, and the way he said "want" made the air change shape. The doors opened to an empty corridor. They stepped out like people who would remember this elevator forever for reasons they'd never explain. "Tomorrow," he said, "bring the brave version." He didn't touch her. He touched the edge of her laptop and let his hand fall. She felt it anyway, the way a body feels lightning even when it's still in the distance. Ava didn't sleep, she rewrote. She cut the safety of compliant copy and wrote a manifesto that would make procurement frown and the public lean in. She swapped stock smiles for real hands, calloused, ink-stained, chipped polish and clean palms raised in promise. She added one line at the top, a line that dared the room to breathe differently. We don't sell buildings. We promise futures that hold. At 7:12 a.m., she slid into Conference B with a carafe of coffee and a pulse that mistrusted doors. Julian was already there, jacket off, sleeves rolled, a legal pad full of arrows and a pen that looked like it might draw blood if someone lied to it. I sent the board the safe deck, he said. You'll present the brave one. His smile was quiet and dangerous. Let's see who we are today. Balance in power begins in choices and scale. The room was his, the words were hers, and in the narrow overlap, heat found a place to live. The board trickled in, salt and steel men, two women who watched everything, a lawyer who arranged his water bottles by height as if control could be swallowed. Ava started with the line. The lawyer frowned. Julian didn't move. She showed the neighborhoods without makeup. The CFO interrupted on slide 7 and asked where the guarantees were. Show me the conversion math, he said, as if courage could be amortized. Math belongs here, Ava said calmly, flipping to projections. But math only moves if story moves hearts. If we don't name what's true, fear, risk, hope, we'll aim for safe and hid invisible. Her brother's name thrummed under her ribs like a drumline. She didn't say Eli, she said everything else. On slide 14, the one that cut community guardians back to compliance, and on slide 15, the one that put it back and named it as brand spine, the room split like a storm front. Julian finally spoke. We keep 15, he said, and we measure it. He didn't look at her. He didn't have to. The room, suddenly, was balanced on a wire pulled tight between them. After, in the corridor blinking with two white leads, he said, You didn't flinch. It wasn't praise, it was a map. I don't flinch for free, she said, and I don't flinch for men who think bravery is a brand word. She meant to hurt him. She meant to protect herself. Both are sharp. He stepped closer. I think bravery is a choice you only make if you can afford it. I also think I can buy the time you need to make it anyway. Power tilted. She felt it and hated that it didn't make her step back. Don't pay for me, she said. Stand next to me or stay out of the way. The sentence trembled like a drawn bow. A door opened. Voices, the corridor filled with footsteps. She pivoted away, the scent of his cologne threading itself into memory against her permission. That afternoon, her phone lit with a number that wasn't in her contacts and lived inside all her late-night what-ifs. If you want Eli to keep his hands, the voice said, tell your boyfriend to stop pretending he can't read ledgers. The line went dead. Ava's mouth went dry. She dialed Eli, straight to voicemail. She stood up too fast, the room tilting. Then she felt it, a presence in the doorway. Julian. Walk with me, he said. She didn't want to, she did. In the stairwell, he said, You're going to tell me you can handle it. You can't. She balled her hands into weapons that fit poorly. How do you know? He showed her his phone. A photo. Eli, 3 days ago, outside a corner store, talking to a man Ava had tried to never remember. My security flagged it when your budget note didn't line up with your procurement pathways, Julian said. I thought you were either, he paused. A genius or desperate. His voice softened on the last word and something inside her nearly broke. Don't save me, she said again, but softer. Stand next to me. He nodded like he had learned a word he would use later. I'm not your boss right now, he said. I'm a man who owes the truth something. There are things in our books the board doesn't want to see. Your brave version threatens them. The call was a warning to me, through you. The ground under her recalibrated, the danger bending into a shape that fit too many bodies. They stood on a landing, close enough that breath knew breath. This can't happen, she said, even though the thing that couldn't was already happening at the level of molecules and decisions. If you tell me no, I will never cross it, he said. But I won't stop choosing the version of this company you made possible this morning. She hated that the sentence felt like both an oath and an invitation. When they stepped back into the hall, the air smelled different, like a storm about to break open the sky. Ava drew a line in her head. No after hours, no closed doors, no touching that wasn't accidental and regretted immediately. The company drew lines on paper. Conflict of interest policies, HR trainings about power and consent, all the ways a culture tries to legislate desire, and often only makes it more brightly forbidden. She knew the rules. She also knew that gravity is technically a rule. The week became a tightrope. Morning stand-ups that turned into miniature battlegrounds, a campaign shoot that moved to an old theater in the South End where the light slanted like a benediction. Late emails with tracked changes that felt like the slow blush of a confession. She watched him watch the team, listened to who he praised and who he pushed, and how he handled the junior copywriter who cried in the bathroom without letting her dignity shatter on the tile. Balanced power becomes visible in how a leader closes space for harm and opens space for courage. She saw him try, and the trying did something terrible and beautiful to her resolve. On Thursday, the AC failed. Everyone melted into versions of themselves that glimmered, sleeves rolled, tempers low, jokes that only heat makes possible. Ava stayed late to rework a voiceover line that refused to behave. At 8:41 p.m., the theater went quiet, crew gone, cables coiled like sleeping snakes, stage dust floating in columns of air that made time look visible. She read the line aloud, hated it, deleted it, wrote another. A door clicked, she didn't turn. Julian's footsteps were city soft, learned on floors where money listens. "You left out the sentence you wrote at 3:30 a.m., he said. The one about the first light on kitchen tile, the way a person knows they made a good choice because their body doesn't flinch when the sun touches it. It wasn't in the draft. It was in her notes app, in the middle of a voice memo she'd labeled "Do Not Send." "You shouldn't have that," she said, a flare of anger lighting her like a match. "I don't," he said. "I just know you. The worst thing about being seen is how much a body can want it." She closed her eyes, opened them. "You can't say things like that," she said. "You are my boss." He stepped back a measurable distance, the kind that policy would appreciate. "Then let me ask as a man who won't touch you unless you ask him to," he said. "Put that line back, it's the truth." Truth, like desire, doesn't care about appropriateness. It cares about breath. A door banged below, voices echoing up the empty rows. They stepped apart like teenagers caught and adults pretending they weren't. The moment didn't end. It folded itself for later. That night, Ava dreamed of water rising in slow inches over the lobby marble, papers floating, signatures bleeding into ink clouds. She woke with her mouth full of thunder. Friday morning, an email, anonymous of course, with a grainy photo, two figures on a stairwell landing, too close to be colleagues, not close enough to be safe. Subject line, "You're not as careful as you think." She forwarded it to legal. She forwarded it to herself. She deleted both. Then she walked into Julian's office and put her phone on the desk face up. "We have a problem," she said. "We have several," he said. "Which one is going to ruin us first?" She almost laughed. Instead, she told him about the email, about the call, about the way the ledger numbers in subsidiary 4 never added to sums that existed in math. He listened the way he had in the elevator, like he was measuring the speed of silence. "We need a third thing," he said. "Not you alone, not me alone, a witness." He typed a name. Leela Soren, Chief Compliance, the kind of woman whose gaze counted down from 10 and left people improved. Leela arrived like a storm carrying its own barometric pressure. She listened. She asked for documents. She asked for times and faces and the precise color of fear. "Stay away from each other," Leela said finally, not unkindly. "Not forever, for now. If we audit the rot, your proximity will look like motive." The line Ava had drawn earlier thickened into something real, heavy as rope. "Okay," Ava said. "Okay," Julian said. They didn't look at each other. It didn't help. Audits sound clinical. They are not. They are heat and time and the smell of paper sizzling into truth. Leela's team moved like chess pieces with knives. Subpoenas, interviews, quiet visits to quiet warehouses where pallets whispered names when no one else listened. Ava did her work. 3 campaigns, 2 crisis statements, a keynote that taught a room to clap in the right places, and fed Leela what the numbers asked for and the stories hid. Julian became a rumor inside glass. She saw him across rooms and on screens, always half an inch away from out of reach. She learned the shape of him at a distance, the way he rubbed his temple when a lie walked in wearing good shoes, the way he left a pen cap balanced on the corner of a report when he needed someone to read it twice. Desire didn't disappear. It matured into something meaner and more careful. A second email came, another photo, another stairwell. The subject line, "He'll trade you for a vote." She didn't forward it. She printed it, put it in a folder labeled for after. That afternoon, Eli called. "I'm out," he said, voice scraped raw. "They let me go because someone important asked them to forget my name." Ava sat down so she wouldn't fall. Who? She asked. He laughed a little. Your boss, he said. Or someone scaring him. Gratitude crawled over guilt like ivy on brick. That night, rain came hard. The building hummed with weather and threat. Ava stayed late, again, and heard a noise at the far end of the floor that didn't belong to storm or printer. She walked toward it because that's who she was when the story got dark. A shadow peeled itself from a window. Miss Lynn, said a voice that belonged to the man from the photo with Eli. Your brother's clean. For now, you keep your CEO brave, you keep him alive. You don't, he becomes a case study. He smiled in the way men do when they want you to taste metal. You're in our books, she said. That's why your numbers dance. He shrugged. Everyone dances for someone. He vanished before security could turn a corner into a solution. Ava walked straight to Leela. He wants Julian Brave, she said. That's not what blackmailers want. Leela's eyes narrowed. Unless bravery breaks a different man's back, she said. Unless brave means don't sell the rotten wing. The audit drew blood then. Accounts opened like wounds. Subsidiary 4 was a tunnel where money changed names until it didn't remember its mother. Julian texted her once, one line, "Are you safe?" She typed 10 answers and sent none. She put her phone face down on the table and thought about sunlight on tile. The board called an emergency vote. The word emergency wears cologne and comes with pastries. On the agenda. Divest Subsidiary 4 at a loss that would make investors snarl, or keep it and let the audit go cold, or replace the interim with someone less likely to tell the truth with his whole face. Ava wasn't supposed to be there. Leela wanted her there anyway. Witness, she said again, that blade-clean word, the room filled with money and fear. Julian presented the audit summary without flinch or flourish. He named the tunnel. He named the names. He did not name Ava. A man whose cufflinks cost rent said, "If we go public, we bleed." A woman who'd been quiet said, "If we don't, we rot." Leela said nothing. She watched who leaned back when truth walked in. Julian's eyes found Ava once. The look was a hand not touching her cheek in front of God and governance. Then he said, "We sell the rotten wing. We report the rest. We lose money. We keep our name." He paused. "And we promote the campaign that promises futures that hold." The sentence was a rope he threw to a room drowning and dared it to grab. Votes slid across the table like prayers and knives. It tied. Board chair turned to Julian. "You break the tie," he said. The air got thin. He said, "Sell." And with that one syllable, he chose the company, the truth, and a target on his back. After, the corridor outside smelled like rain and toner and a future that might actually forgive itself. "You did it," Ava said before she remembered lines. He shook his head. "We started it," he said. "The men in the tunnels don't stop because we told the light where to stand." His hand didn't touch her. His eyes did. They stood too close. They stood anyway. "This can't happen," she said again, the ritual words they'd worn shiny. "Then let me be the one who doesn't happen," he said. "I resign after we close. They won't take the deal if they think I get to be the hero." Heroes break the story. He smiled like he had learned sorrow recently. "No," she said, a word that tasted like outgrowing. "Stay, let it be complicated. Let the board learn what brave costs in months and not headlines." She surprised herself. She surprised him. "I'll leave," she said, and the floor tilted in her mouth. "After we launch. I won't be the question that ruins the answer we just made." Balance in power means choosing the version where consent has room to breathe. She chose it even though everything in her wanted the smaller, easier room. "Don't go," he said. "Don't stay," she said. They both laughed once, the sound brittle and human. Launch day arrived like a sunrise that had read the brief. The theater screens lifted the city into tenderness. The line Ava wrote, about first light on tile and bodies not flinching, made a CFO look at his hands. The spot ended on a rooftop garden built where a parking lot had once been a heat island, a child turning their face up to a sky that didn't threaten rain as punishment. The campaign trended by noon. The audit closed on a Friday with numbers that didn't lie even when they cried. The sale of the rotten wing printed on a Monday. Lawsuits began on Wednesday. Complicated weeks stack like that when the truth starts charging interest. Ava packed her desk into 2 boxes that smelled like new cardboard and choices. HR hugged her with the kind of caution people save for combustibles. Leela shook her hand and said, "You did not flinch," and it felt like a medal and a bruise. Eli sent a photo of a plant on a windowsill, 2 new leaves, a caption, "Look, I'm learning to keep things alive." She took the long way out, past Conference B, past the elevator that still hummed on stormy days like it remembered breath. past the stairwell that held a ghost of a look she would not exorcise. He was there in the lobby, of course. He wore decision like a well-cut coat. People passed around them in rushes of perfume and calendar invites. "You're leaving," he said, as if facts could be softened by the voice that said them. "I am," she said, "not because I'm brave. Because I want the brave version to still be possible." He nodded like he had expected no less and wanted so much more. "Dinner," he said, after 3 people had said hello and 2 had pretended they didn't see them. "When you're ready, when the line belongs to nobody's HR manual." She smiled, finally, like the kind of woman who had learned to want without apologizing for it. "Not goodbye," she said. "A comma," he laughed once, real and unguarded. "And a future that holds?" he asked, not teasing. She lifted her chin to the lobby skylight where rain had once made the glass sound like a heart trying not to be heard. "Let's find out," she said. On the sidewalk, heat slicked the city into a living thing. She walked into it, feeling a line loosen, no, not break, loosen around her ribs. The phone buzzed. Leela, a link to a press piece that didn't turn them into saints or fools, an investor note that used the word integrity without choking on it, Eli texting a photo of the plant 1 minute later with the caption, "Fine, you were right." She didn't look back at the building. She didn't have to. Some doors open once and keep standing in the body forever, not as cages but as proof. At the crosswalk, the light turned green, and for the first time in months, she moved without flinch when sun touched her hands.